I had always thought I was a pretty good judge of character. I believed that if you spent enough time with someone, you could tell when something was wrong, when things were off. I had been dating Emily for almost 2 years, and in that time, I truly thought I knew her better than anyone else. We had shared so much, from our late-night talks to our quiet moments, and I was convinced that we were building something real, something solid. But that all changed one evening when I found the journal. It was a Saturday night, and Emily had left to go hang out with a friend. I was lounging around the apartment, scrolling through my phone, when I noticed a small, leather-bound notebook tucked under the couch cushion. It caught my eye because I had never seen it before. We had always been pretty open with each other, and she had never mentioned having a journal. It seemed like something she would keep personal, so I thought nothing of it at first. Curiosity got the best of me, though. I picked it up, flipped it open, and started reading. At first, the entries were innocent enough, nothing too revealing. Emily had written about her day, about small frustrations with work, the things she had been thinking about, the typical stuff anyone might jot down. But then, the tone of the writing changed, and I noticed something odd. There was mention of a man, another man, someone named Mike. Mike was a friend, Emily had claimed, but the more I read, the more suspicious it sounded. She mentioned him repeatedly in the most intimate of ways, describing how much she enjoyed their time together, how easy it was to talk to him. I thought nothing of it at first, assuming it was just harmless friendship. But then, I came across a passage that stopped me cold. I love Ryan, but sometimes I wonder if I'm making the right choice. I'm not sure I'm ready for the commitment, but he's so perfect. I'm scared that one day, I'll wake up and realize I'm not in love with him anymore. There's this guy, Mike, who's been making me question everything. He's always there when I need someone, and I can't help but wonder if maybe I've been settling for Ryan, when Mike is the one I should be with. My stomach sank. I could feel the blood draining from my face as I reread the words over and over again. I thought I had been the person she trusted the most, the person she could confide in. But now, here I was, reading her deepest thoughts, her doubts about me, the man she had been living with for almost 2 years. Was I just a placeholder? Was she thinking about someone else, someone who wasn't me? The more I read, the more it became clear, there were secrets I never knew about, things Emily had been keeping from me, things that made me question everything I thought I knew about our relationship. How had I missed all of this? Was I that blind to what was happening? How could I have not seen that she wasn't as committed as I had believed? I put the journal down and sat there, my mind spinning. I was overwhelmed by the flood of emotions coursing through me, betrayal, confusion, hurt. Emily had been keeping something from me, something so vital that I couldn't ignore it. I needed answers. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to face the truth, but I knew I couldn't keep ignoring what I had found. The days that followed felt like a blur. I spent most of the time lost in my thoughts, replaying every moment with Emily, wondering if I had missed something. The journal, with its damning revelations, kept haunting me. I couldn't stop thinking about what I had read, about the doubts, the mention of Mike, and the unsettling idea that I might not be the person she truly wanted. I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending like everything was fine when it wasn't. But at the same time, I wasn't sure if I was ready to hear the truth. What if she admitted that everything in the journal was real? What if she confessed that her feelings for me had changed, that she had already made her decision about our relationship? That night, Emily came home later than usual. She was smiling, chatting about the time she had spent with her friend, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I watched her for a moment, trying to figure out how to bring it up. I had so many questions, but how could I ask them without sounding like I was accusing her of something I already knew? As she sat down next to me on the couch, I couldn't hold it in anymore. The words spilled out before I could stop them. Emily, we need to talk. Her smile faltered, and she looked at me, sensing the seriousness in my tone. What's wrong? She asked, her voice full of concern. I found something, I said, barely able to get the words out. Your journal. I read it. Her face went pale. She didn't say anything at first, just stared at me, her lips pressed together in a thin line. She must have known exactly what I was referring to. Ryan, she finally said, her voice shaking. You weren't supposed to read that. I didn't mean to, I replied, my voice tight. But I couldn't ignore it. You've been keeping things from me, Emily. I need to know what's going on. Why didn't you just tell me how you were feeling? Why did you hide it in your journal? She looked down at her hands, fidgeting with the hem of her sleeve. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want to hurt us. But you did, I said quietly, my heart breaking. You've hurt me more than I ever imagined possible. I've been living with this illusion that everything was fine, that we were building a future together. But all along, you were questioning it. You were questioning me. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, Emily said, her voice breaking. I love you, Ryan. But I've been confused. Mike, he's just a friend, but he's been there for me when I've needed someone. And I've been struggling with these feelings. I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't want to lose you, but I didn't know how to fix everything that was wrong inside me. The confession hit me like a punch to the gut. She hadn't just been doubting me, she had been emotionally invested in someone else. I had trusted her completely, and now I was faced with the painful reality that she had been hiding her true feelings all along. Emily, I whispered, my voice barely audible, I don't know if I can keep going like this. I don't know if I can trust you again. She reached out for my hand, but I pulled it away. I know I've hurt you. I know I've made a mess of everything, she said, her voice pleading. But I swear, I didn't want this. I didn't want to hurt you. I don't know if I can ever get past this, I replied, my voice thick with emotion. I don't know if I can forgive you for keeping all of this from me, for not being honest with me from the start. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Please, Ryan, don't give up on us. I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I want to make it right. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to believe her, wanted to think that we could fix everything, but I couldn't shake the feeling that trust had been broken beyond repair. I need time, I said finally, standing up. I need to think. I can't make a decision right now. Take all the time you need, she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. I left the apartment that night, my mind racing with questions I didn't have answers to. The pain of what I had learned was overwhelming, and I wasn't sure where to go from here. Could I forgive her? Could I ever trust her again? Or was it time to let go and walk away from everything we had built? The days that followed were filled with confusion and an overwhelming sense of loss. I couldn't stop thinking about what I had learned. The image of Emily's face, the pain in her eyes as she admitted everything, haunted me. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the depth of it. How had I missed all the signs? How could she have hidden this from me for so long? I tried to distract myself with work, but every moment of quiet, every pause in the day, I was back to thinking about her. Emily had been my everything, the person I thought I could trust the most. But now, with the journal and the truth in front of me, I wasn't sure where to go from here. I wanted to confront her again, to ask more questions, to get more answers. But part of me was terrified of what I would hear. What if she had already made up her mind? What if she had already chosen Mike, and I was just a backup? The thought cut deeper than anything else. I avoided Emily for the next few days. She texted me, asking if we could talk, if I was ready to meet again. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to hear her out, to see if there was any hope left. But another part of me wanted to cut her off completely, to walk away and never look back. One evening, I found myself sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the journal. It was still sitting there, untouched, a reminder of everything that had been said and unsaid. I knew I had to face it, face the reality of the situation, but I couldn't bring myself to open it again. Each time I thought about the words inside, I felt my heart break all over again. Eventually, I couldn't avoid her any longer. Emily called me that night, her voice trembling when she asked if I could meet her. I took a deep breath before responding, "Fine, we can meet." I wasn't sure what to expect when I walked into the cafe later that evening. I had spent the entire day trying to calm my nerves, to figure out what I was going to say, but nothing felt right. It felt like everything was out of my control. When Emily saw me, her face lit up, but it was a tentative smile, one full of hope yet laced with fear. She stood up, almost as if she was unsure whether I would even sit down with her. "Ryan," she said softly, "thank you for agreeing to meet. I know it's not easy. I don't want to lose you." I sat down slowly, my eyes never leaving hers. I could see the vulnerability in her gaze, the sincerity. But there was also something else, guilt, shame, maybe even regret. I wasn't sure. What I was sure of was that my feelings for her were no longer the same. The trust, the foundation we had built, had been shattered, and I wasn't sure if it could ever be repaired. "Emily, I don't know what to say," I admitted, my voice raw. "I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't know if I can keep pretending like nothing happened." She looked down at the table, her hands trembling as she fidgeted with a napkin. "I understand," she said softly. "I know I've hurt you. I know that what I did is unforgivable. But I love you, Ryan. And I'm asking you for a chance to prove that I can be the person you need." I closed my eyes, trying to block out the flood of emotions that threatened to overwhelm me. "I don't know, Emily. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. The way you've made me feel, betrayed, ignored, and insignificant, it's too much. She reached for my hand, but I pulled it back, not ready to let her in again. Please, she begged. Please give me a chance to fix this. I'll do anything. I looked at her, and for the first time in days, I saw the person I once loved, the girl who had made me feel like the luckiest man in the world. But that person was buried beneath the hurt, beneath the secrets she had kept from me. I need time, I said quietly. I need to think. I don't know if I can forgive you, but I can't make any decisions right now. Emily nodded, her face filled with sorrow. I'll wait as long as you need. I don't want to lose you. I stood up and left the cafe, the weight of the decision hanging over me. The future, our future, was still uncertain. But one thing was clear, I couldn't make a decision in the heat of the moment. I needed to think, to process everything that had happened. And maybe, just maybe, I'd find a way to heal. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I hadn't slept at all. My body was rested, but my mind was exhausted. All night I'd been replaying every moment of that conversation at the cafe. Her voice, her eyes, the trembling in her hands, it all echoed in my head like a broken song I couldn't shut off. I didn't know what was worse, the betrayal itself or the fact that part of me still wanted to believe in her. To believe that the version of Emily I'd fallen in love with was still somewhere inside her, waiting to come back. But love had never felt this heavy before. It used to lift me. Now it felt like chains. I spent the afternoon walking through the city. The streets were buzzing with people, conversations, laughter. It felt so disconnected from what was going on inside me. No one could see it, but I was falling apart. And the cruelest part, she had said she'd wait. That made it harder, not easier. I ducked into a bookstore, a place I used to go to think. I browsed shelves aimlessly, not looking for anything in particular, just trying to breathe. I ended up sitting on a bench near the back, staring out a window. That's when I pulled out my phone and scrolled to the photo album, pictures of me and Emily. Our vacation last year, her birthday dinner, random selfies where we looked so happy. Had it all been real? I tapped on one picture, her smiling at me across the table, her eyes lit up. I remembered that moment. We were at a tiny Italian place she had found. That night she told me she wanted forever with me. How do you go from that, to a journal full of doubt? My phone buzzed. Emily, hey, just wanted you to know I'm thinking about you. No pressure. Just, I miss you. I didn't respond. Instead, I slid the phone back in my pocket and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. My head said run. My heart wasn't so sure. That night, I called my older brother Nate. We hadn't talked in a while, but if anyone could help me think straight, it was him. He answered on the second ring. Ryan, everything okay? No, I said. I need to talk. We met up at a quiet bar near his place. I told him everything, finding the journal, the doubts, the conversation with Emily. He listened quietly, his jaw tight, eyes serious. When I finished, he leaned back and sipped his drink. Sounds like she's sorry, he said. Yeah. But sorry doesn't fix everything. No, it doesn't, he agreed. But neither does walking away if part of you isn't ready to let go. I looked down at the table. He leaned forward. You don't have to forgive her today, or tomorrow. But you need to figure out what's going to give you peace. Holding on to this will eat you alive. He was right. I knew he was right. I just didn't know what peace looked like anymore. The next morning, I drove out to my parents' old cabin. It was 2 hours north, tucked away by a lake we used to visit every summer. I hadn't been there in years, but I needed space, real space. Somewhere quiet enough that my thoughts wouldn't bounce off 4 apartment walls and crush me. The road was familiar. So was the ache in my chest as I parked and stepped out onto the gravel. The wind was cool. The trees whispered the way they always had. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe. Inside, everything was just as we had left it. Dusty books. A half-used can of coffee in the pantry. A photo of me, Nate, and Dad sitting above the fireplace. I sat on the worn couch, journal still in my backpack, untouched since the night I first read it. I didn't want to read it again, but I couldn't stop thinking about what might have been in the pages I skipped. Eventually, I gave in. I flipped to the middle, hoping for some clarity. Another entry caught my eye, dated just 3 weeks before I found it. Sometimes I feel like I'm standing between 2 doors. One opens to comfort, stability, the life I've known with Ryan. The other, it's unknown, but it excites me. Mike sees me differently, makes me feel different. I hate that I'm even writing this. I hate that I'm questioning something so solid. But I don't know who I am anymore. I feel selfish. I feel lost. I slammed the journal shut. It wasn't just about Mike, it was about her. She was drifting, confused. And maybe I had seen it, deep down, but chose to ignore it because I didn't want it to be true. She hadn't physically cheated, but emotionally, she'd been slipping for months. And I was too in love to see her slipping away. I stepped outside and sat by the lake, watching the ripples dance across the water. The quiet let the truth settle in. Emily had been honest, in her own way. That journal wasn't a confession. It was a cry for clarity. And as much as it hurt, I started to understand something important. She wasn't the only one who changed. I had, too. Somewhere along the line, I stopped checking in. I assumed everything was fine because I wanted it to be. Maybe if I had asked harder questions, seen her more clearly, I would have noticed the drift before it turned into distance. But that didn't excuse what she did. It didn't undo the hurt. I stayed at the cabin that night, built a fire, read through old memories. I didn't come to any final decision, but I felt the storm in my chest start to calm. Maybe healing didn't start with answers. Maybe it started with honesty, first with yourself. And I had one truth I couldn't ignore anymore. I still loved her. But love alone might not be enough. I returned to the city the next morning, feeling slightly steadier but still uncertain. The time at the cabin had cleared some of the fog, but the path ahead remained anything but straight. I knew now that Emily's doubts hadn't come from nowhere, but knowing the why didn't make the what hurt any less. When I walked back into the apartment, it felt different. Not because anything had changed physically, but because I had. The air was heavier. Every room held memories I wasn't sure I trusted anymore. On the kitchen table sat a sealed envelope with my name written on it in Emily's handwriting. I stared at it for a long time before picking it up. Something about it felt final. Like the kind of thing you leave when you've said everything you can in person, and all that's left is hope the words land. I opened it slowly. Ryan, if you're reading this, it means I'm giving you space. Real space. I don't know if I deserve even that much from you, but I'm trying to respect what you need. I've made a mess of everything, and I know that. I've read the journal again. I've read what I wrote, and it's made me sick. Not because it was untrue, but because I never said any of it to you. You deserved better. You still do. Mike isn't in my life anymore. That's not what this is about. It never should have been. This is about me not knowing who I am and dragging you into my confusion. I'll regret that forever. I love you. Not because it's easy, but because you've always seen the best in me, even when I couldn't. If you choose to walk away, I'll understand. If you choose to try again, I'll do whatever it takes to earn back your trust. No more secrets. No more halfway love. I promise. Whatever happens next, I'm grateful for every day I got to love you. Emily. I set the letter down gently. It felt honest. Raw. Not like someone begging for forgiveness, but like someone who finally saw themselves clearly. And for the first time since I found the journal, I didn't feel anger. I felt tired, worn out, but strangely, not empty. I sat with her words for hours. I didn't text her. I didn't call. I just let the letter echo around in my head until I wasn't afraid of what came next. By sunset, I stood in front of the mirror, looking at myself in a way I hadn't in weeks. I didn't see a victim. I saw someone standing at a fork in the road. One path led back to what we had, rebuilt, reshaped, but never quite the same. The other path meant starting over. Alone, free of the doubt, free of her. Both would cost me something. The question was, which loss could I live with? The following evening, I texted Emily. Let's talk. Tomorrow. Same cafe, 6 p.m. I didn't overthink it. No long messages. No build-up. Just clarity. I needed to see her one last time, face to face, with no filters, no distractions. I wasn't coming to fight. I wasn't coming for answers. I was coming for closure, whatever shape it took. The next day felt slow, but not heavy. I went about my work, took a walk, even stopped for lunch, something I hadn't done properly in days. It felt like a calm before something uncertain, not a storm, exactly, but maybe a necessary downpour. When I arrived at the cafe, Emily was already there. She looked different, though not in any obvious way. Maybe it was in her posture, shoulders down, eyes steady, like she wasn't pretending anymore. There was no hopeful smile, no attempt to guess what mood I was in, just a quiet readiness. I sat across from her. She folded her hands gently in her lap. Thank you for meeting me, she said. I nodded. Thanks for the letter. She looked down for a moment, then back at me. I meant every word. I know. Silence stretched between us, not awkward, but not easy either. Eventually, I broke it. I've been thinking a lot. About us. About everything. And I've come to terms with something. She waited, not interrupting. You were confused. You didn't cheat, not physically, but emotionally. You drifted. You wrote things you never told me. You explored feelings with someone else while lying next to me every night. She swallowed hard, her jaw tightening, but said nothing. I kept trying to figure out whether I should forgive you, I continued, but I think the better question was, can I ever trust you again? Her eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. She nodded slightly, acknowledging the weight of the moment. I know I lost that trust, she said. I know I don't deserve it back, not without time, not without effort, but I would fight for it. I would rebuild it, piece by piece, if you let me. I leaned back, exhaling slowly. That's the thing. I believe you would, but even if you did, I don't know if I could accept it. Not fully, because something inside me changed the day I read that journal. Her breath caught. She didn't argue. I still love you, Emily. That hasn't disappeared. But love isn't the same thing as safety. And right now, I need to feel safe with myself again. A tear rolled down her cheek, but she wiped it away silently. So, what now? She asked quietly. I looked at her, memorizing the person I had once planned to grow old with. Now we say goodbye. Not because there's no love left, but because love without trust isn't enough. Emily closed her eyes, nodded once, then stood. I'll always be grateful for you, Ryan. I stood too. Same here. No hug, no dramatics. Just a quiet, shared ending. As I walked out of the cafe and into the cool night air, I felt something I hadn't in weeks, peace. It had been a week since I walked away from Emily. The silence that followed wasn't as crushing as I thought it would be. It was still, yes, but not empty. More like space. Room to breathe, to think, to figure out who I was outside of us. I kept busy. I got back to running, even dusted off my guitar and started playing again, things I hadn't touched in months. I wasn't trying to distract myself. I was trying to reconnect with the version of Ryan that didn't revolve around someone else's orbit. One night, Nate invited me over for dinner. He'd been checking in almost every day, never pushing but always reminding me I wasn't alone. I told him everything, the talk with Emily, the decision, the weight that came with it. He listened, then nodded and said something I didn't expect. You did something most people never do, he said. You chose peace over potential. That's harder than it sounds. I'd never thought of it like that. Part of me had been second-guessing, wondering if maybe I should have tried harder, waited longer, seen if the love could have been salvaged. But Nate was right. Potential is dangerous. It's a ghost of what might be, not what is. And what was real, what was now, was that Emily and I were broken in ways love alone couldn't mend. Later that night, I opened a new notebook. Blank pages. I wrote down a list, not of things to do, but of things I wanted to feel again. Confidence. Excitement. Openness. Freedom. Then I wrote something I hadn't let myself write until then. Forgiveness. Not for Emily, for myself, for not seeing the signs, for loving blindly, for staying silent when I should have spoken up, for carrying guilt that wasn't mine to begin with. I didn't want to move on with bitterness in my chest. I wanted to move on clean. That weekend, I packed away the photos of us. I didn't burn them, didn't delete the memories. I just placed them in a box, tucked them away, not erased, just shelved. Because we had something real, and even if it ended, that didn't make it worthless. On Sunday morning, I got coffee at the place near the park, alone. I watched couples walk by, parents with strollers, people laughing. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like I was missing something. I was just, here, living, healing. And in that moment, I realized something. You don't always need closure from another person. Sometimes, closure is standing still long enough to hear your own heart say, "You're going to be okay." And for the first time, I believed it. A few weeks later, I saw her. I wasn't expecting it. I was at the grocery store, of all places, reaching for a carton of eggs when I heard my name. Soft, hesitant, familiar in a way that instantly stiffened my spine. Ryan. I turned, and there she was. Emily. She looked different. Her hair was shorter, a little lighter. She wore no makeup, just a simple sweatshirt and jeans. But it wasn't her appearance that caught me off guard, it was her eyes. They looked steady, not filled with panic or guilt, just human. "Hey," I said, more out of reflex than intent. She gave a small smile. I wasn't sure if I should say anything. "It's okay," I replied. An awkward pause settled between us. "You look good," she offered gently. "You too," I said. And I meant it. She looked better, less burdened. She glanced at her shopping basket. Didn't think I'd run into you. Me either. Another pause. Then she surprised me. I wanted to say thank you, she said, for how things ended, for your honesty. It helped me be honest with myself too. I nodded slowly. That means a lot. I've started therapy, she continued, voice quiet but firm. I realized I had a lot to unpack. Not just what happened between us, but who I've been to myself. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just listened. I think, she added, if I'd been that version of me back then, maybe things would have been different. I gave her a sad smile. Yeah, maybe. But I'm glad you're okay, she said. I really am. And I could tell she meant it. There was a time when seeing her would have unraveled me. But today, standing by the eggs and overpriced almond milk, I didn't feel hurt. I felt grateful. We said goodbye with a nod. No lingering looks, no what-ifs. Just two people who had been through something painful and survived it. As I walked out of the store, the air felt different, lighter. That night, I journaled again. Today I saw her. And I didn't break. I didn't flinch. I saw her as a person, not a wound. And maybe that's the clearest sign yet. I'm healing. There was power in that. Not in moving on to someone new. Not in pretending it never happened. But in reclaiming myself. Some scars stay with you, not as pain, but as proof. That you endured. That you loved. That you learned. And when you finally look at those scars without anger, without regret, that's freedom. It's been 3 months since everything unraveled. 3 months since I found the journal. Since I confronted the truth. Since I walked away from the girl I thought I'd spend forever with. But today, I'm good. Really good. It didn't happen all at once. There wasn't a single day when I woke up and felt healed. It was slow. Uneven. Some mornings I missed her without warning. Some nights I caught myself remembering the way she laughed at my dumbest jokes. But over time, those memories stopped feeling like traps. They just became memories. I've started building new ones now. New routines. New passions. I joined a climbing gym. Something about gripping rock walls and focusing only on the next move clears my mind. I've made new friends. Reconnected with old ones. I even went on a date, a simple dinner, no pressure. It felt strange at first, but not wrong. Just different. And most importantly, I've grown closer to myself. I've learned to pay attention to the quiet signals. The things I used to ignore, my gut, my instincts, my needs. I'm no longer the guy who pushes everything down just to avoid conflict. I've learned that peace isn't the absence of problems, it's the presence of honesty. First with others, but more importantly, with yourself. Looking back, I don't blame Emily anymore. She was lost. So was I. We just didn't know how to say it out loud. That doesn't excuse the choices that hurt me, but it does explain them. And sometimes, understanding is enough. I've come to accept that some relationships are meant to shape you, not carry you to the end. Ours did exactly that. It taught me how deep I could love, and how strong I'd have to be when that love wasn't returned the same way. Would I change anything? I don't think so. Pain changes people, but it also reveals them. If it weren't for all of this, I might still be pretending everything was fine. I might still be accepting less than I deserve. And that's no way to live. I'm writing this final entry not to close the door on the past, but to open the door to everything ahead. I've forgiven her. I've forgiven myself. And that's the thing about betrayal, it can shatter you, but it can also set you free. Free to grow, free to let go, free to begin again. I don't know what comes next, but for the first time in a long time, I'm not afraid of it. Because I know who I am now. And that's more than enough.